Folks, I appreciate your patience. We were getting a scene stabilized. Just before 3 p.m. this afternoon, 911 started to receive multiple calls related to shots fired at Northlake Mall. At that time, we did have a patrol officer from North Division who was conducting foot patrol inside the mall, works closely with mall security and mall management. He was receiving some calls related to some fights inside the mall. One of them was at the incident location, which is right outside of where Dick's Sporting Goods used to be. That tenant's no longer there, but it's at another retailer right there near that location. That officer, while he was responding, encountered an individual. That individual was believed to be related to the incident location. That officer attempted to detain that individual there. That individual did drop a weapon and proceeded to flee from the scene. The officer pursued that individual and he surrendered right outside the mall. So we were able to successfully de-escalate that situation and peacefully take that individual into custody. What appears to have happened at the beginning is one of our victims was inside the store. Suspect comes inside the store. They have some type of verbal exchange. That verbal exchange escalates into a physical exchange. The suspect then does produce a firearm, discharge that firearm several times, striking the individual that he was fighting with. We had one other individual who was unrelated to that physical confrontation, who was inside the store, who was also struck by gunfire. Medical attention was immediately provided to that victim on scene. Both victims were transported to the local trauma center. The individual who was in the confrontation with the suspect did sustain life-threatening injury and is currently being worked on at the trauma center. The other individual, who is a unrelated party inside the store, sustained a non-life-threatening injury, but they too were transported to the trauma center. Once the officers were able to secure the identified suspects, we're certainly working with mall security, checking video immediately. We were able to make the determination that that was the only suspect that we were looking for related to the incident. Officers then began conducting a safety sweep through the mall to ensure that there were no other injured victims. As is protocol for some of the mall patrons, they do secure themselves in place, and so we're working with the mall to ensure that timely notification was made that it was safe for the patrons and for the mall staff to reopen their doors. So as I said, we are still processing our scene. We're still working through our video evidence. We're still speaking to witnesses who are on the scene, but we have a suspect in custody and we are not looking for any other individuals at this time. I'll take your questions.
What was the mall evacuated?
The mall staff decided while we were stabilizing the scene to ask patrons to leave the mall. As far as the mall reopening, allowing people back in their hours, that determination will be made by Northlake Mall. I spoke to their management. I know that their communication staff will be putting out a release. But from the CMPD standpoint, we have no safety threat at this time, but they will make that independent determination.
Was there any kind of panic, like crowds that hear the shots fired?
Well, I think it'd be a natural human reaction when you hear gunfire to be concerned and to evacuate. So, again, we had an officer who was working on patrol in the mall, and mall security staff directing people who were looking to exit to safely exit the mall.
You said that, could you kind of go back to after? You talked about an officer encountering someone and kind of, so were the officers responding to the shooting or calling to fight?
So the officer received a call for a fight in the area, heard the gunshots go off, was responding to the gunshots at that location. So he was in close proximity, was not in direct visual contact with the incident location, but had received a fight call at that location, heard the gunfire, and was responding to the gunfire.
So the two people arguing, do they know each other, or are you just
We're still working through that, and part of our investigation. I can't verify that either way.
Do you know the name of the store that they were in?
I don't, sir. The mall would have to verify that information,
What
sir.
location was it? Near Dillard's,
What's it
Well,
entail?
as I said earlier in my release, ma'am, if you know where the old Dick's Sporting Goods was, it's just inside the mall from.
The candy store and popcorn or something.
I can't verify. I just know it's just inside the mall, ma'am.
We got Christmas coming up like next week, and there's a shooting inside a mall. An innocent bystander was struck by a bullet. What is your message to people who might be pretty upset or worried about this incident?
Well, it doesn't matter what time of year it is. I would hope that this type of activity would make people upset and worried all year round. I would suggest that anytime you're at a major public venue that you maintain situational awareness, that no matter where you go, whether it's the mall, a sporting venue, a school, traveling overseas, you should always maintain awareness. Know where your entrance and exits are, know where your vehicle is, know where your property is, but be aware to what's going on around you. So it's concerning because we got so many shots fired calls, but it's also reassuring because that means that we have that many residents of this city who are aware of what's going on and care enough about their safety and the safety of their fellow patrons at the mall that they're trying to get emergency services as quickly as possible to the correct location. So everybody working in concert can't eliminate, every safety threat that's out there, but us working together as a community can mitigate the safety threats that are out there. And I think that, that it is a positive that I think it shows that we are a community that cares about each other and cares about our welfare and won't tolerate this kind of behavior, and we want people engaging in this kind of behavior to be held accountable.
There's been several shootings at this mall. Any safety measures y'all may be readjusting to, or anything you're looking at to kind of curb this kind of incident?
Well, those decisions largely are made by mall staff, mall security staff, and the store owners at the store. I can tell you that the North Patrol Division works closely with mall staff, just as the Providence Patrol Division works closely with South Park Mall, and those are the two malls that are within CMPD's jurisdiction. We keep in mind major events they have at the mall. We keep in mind increased traffic during holiday times. We have increased presence with patrols outside. Our officers conduct foot patrols inside the mall and work closely with mall security staff. But the security plan for the mall is dictated by the mall. Just as with any of our major venues during holiday times, we try and increase our presence there and ensure that the public knows that we care about people's safety and that we are visibly accessible if anybody needs us when we're out at a major venue.
Major, how far was the officer on foot patrol from when he heard the shots? How far away was
I couldn't give you a linear distance, sir.
he? Close enough.
He was not within visual observation, but he was close enough that he heard the shots with his own ears.
Can you give like a number of how many people patrolling inside the mall?
I mean that varies from time to time, sir. So,
Maybe at a particular time, how many?
well, at that time there was one mall that was there was one officer inside the mall who was conducting foot patrol, in addition to the security officers that are employed by Northlake Mall.
Was he on duty or is he off?
No, he's an on-duty officer. They do employ off-duty CMPD officers sometimes, but the officer who was there conducting the patrol was an on-duty North Division officer who was conducting a foot patrol.
And that's a normal thing they'll do so many times a day, or
That's you will regularly see North Division officers conducting foot patrol at the mall, just like you see officers uptown at major venues, or again officers conducting patrols at South Park or any of our major public venues in the city. It's not uncommon to see officers on foot patrol there.
Forgive me if was already asked, but we saw this today. We saw a false alarm for a possible one a couple weeks ago in South Park, and we saw the Concord one a couple months back as well. Is Charlotte a problem with this? Like, is there anything that CMPD can be doing more? I know that you say that you work closely with mall security with their efforts, but is there anything that you can be doing as a department-wise to supersede their security measures?
Well, I can't comment on any location that's outside of our jurisdiction. So as far as Concord Mills, that's not even in this county, so I won't comment on that. But we work closely with Northlake. We work closely with South Park Mall because those are the two malls that are located within Charlotte. We can't supersede their plan because they're a corporate entity and they make their own determinations in relation to security, just as their tenants do. What we do is work in cooperation and collaboration with them to try and make sure that We know what each intends to do, that they know what our security plan is, that they're aware of the additional capabilities that we have. So you'll see different postures out here at different times. So you may see an increase in vehicle patrol. You may see bike patrol. You may see increased foot patrol inside. You may see some of our sky towers deployed at the mall, just as you see them all over locations in Charlotte. So it's not a matter of superseding them. It's a matter of working in cooperation so that we're not hindering each other's efforts, but that everything we do enhances the security for the public when they come to the mall.
That innocent bystander, was that a shopper or a store employee?
I can't verify that person's relationship at this time, but I can tell you that they were not. That individual was not involved in the physical confrontation.
Major, did the ages of these individuals, are you able to tell us, are they young people, are they adults, or what you might be able to say?
I don't have their ages with me right now, sir, but we'll get that information out once the release goes out.
Can you comment on how relatively busy the mall was? It's Thursday afternoon. It's not exactly a Saturday. Was there how busy would you, I don't know, say it was?
Sir, I couldn't.
Target right now is pretty busy.
So I mean, it is the holidays. It is the mall was open for business. There were patrons inside, and it doesn't matter whether there were 10,000 people or 100 people. Our concern for public safety doesn't ebb and flow with the number of people. If there's one resident of Charlotte inside, we care about that person's safety.
Major, did the youngster say something to the suspect? I mean, when he got to him, did he say something that caused the suspect to drop it?
He was trying to detain that individual.
Physically got a hold of him?
He made contact with him, was trying to detain him where he was. The suspect dropped a firearm and took off on foot, and the officer pursued him, and he was peacefully taken into custody outside the mall. Go ahead.
We have an innocent bystander hurt. Can people feel safe Christmas shopping, holiday shopping in general at this mall?
Yeah, I believe that people can. I believe that there are people in all locations who make poor choices, and their poor choices impact individuals who were not a party to that decision. So are you safe here? Yes. And you're safe when you go downtown, and you're safe in your neighborhood. Is there a potential that somebody can be harmed when somebody else chooses to make a negligent decision? Absolutely. But that's where I said before, is I think the fact that we had so many calls come in is because people aren't tolerating that behavior. And when you hold people accountable in a public place, and you hold people accountable in your neighborhood, and you hold people accountable in your family, and you hold your friends accountable, I think that's when you start to see changes in the behavior, because you know that everybody that you associate with, work with, go to school with, go to church with, play ball with, if they don't tolerate that behavior, that causes a change in behavior. So can you feel safe? Yes. Should you be aware of your surroundings and take steps to increase your safety? Yes, absolutely you should, but that's not that's not a Christmas time or a holiday time or any particular time of the year. That's all the time. So yes, people are safe to go there, but people need to maintain their awareness, and people need to care about the other people that are around them, whether you know them by name or you don't know them by name, because we are all residents of the city, and we all need to care about each other so that we can have a reduction in behavior that we are not going to tolerate. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, guys.
First name spelling?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Major Ryan Butler, RyanButler.
And the officer's doing okay, because that's not easy to run into something like that.
He's still working the scene, man, with some of the other
Will
officers.
he get some counseling? Or
We have a wide variety of resources available to support officers, and again, that's year-round, and that's not incident-based. That our officers have the ability to tap into that to ensure that they stay healthy.
Yeah, because that's not easy to run into something like that.
Thank you, man.